Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Ask the Expert session. Over to you, Charles.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Charles Feddersen, and I'm one of the group program managers in the Azure Synapse engineering team at Microsoft. In this Ask the Expert session, we have a variety of SMEs who are here ready to take your questions across the entire Synapse platform. And we'll look at both analytics and governance. So please keep those questions coming. We're going to see how many we can get through in this session. Now, in this agenda, we're going to introduce all of the SMEs first. We'll move into questions as quickly as we possibly can, and I'll give some closing remarks at the end of the session. To ask your questions, please use the Q&A box in Teams, just in the upper toolbar. You can put your questions there and our SMEs will pick them up. If there are too many for us to address verbally, we'll answer them in writing as well in the text window, but like I said, we'll get through as many as we possibly can. Now, with respect to etiquette for the session, this session will be recorded, so please be careful with some of your questions and also adhere, if you don't mind, to Microsoft's digital event code of conduct, which you can see here and is available online as well. So with that, a very quick introduction for our team today. We've got Aaron, Evangeline, Manoj, Martin, and Priyanka, who all work on different components of the Synapse platform. They'll be the people helping me today with this Ask the Expert session. And so without any further ado, let's get straight into it. So I want to start with a question, and perhaps we'll go to Martin first. Martin, can you talk a little bit about Synapse Spark and where we are with respect to our support for the Delta format in Synapse Spark?
Yeah, so we have Delta format support currently in the Spark version 2.4. It's a Delta 0.6 library, but we recently released a Spark version 3.1, which also has the latest version of Delta Lake, which is the version 1.0. So we have full support for all of things of Delta and open source Delta. We also have a couple of things that are coming up very soon, I should say, regarding the optimize and the Z order index, which many customers have been asking for support in Delta, and that should be landing in a region near you shortly, probably within the next month or so.
Okay, fantastic. So our next question is for Priyanka. Priyanka, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the difference between Synapse Link for Dataverse as opposed to the existing export to data lake feature.
So export to data lake feature is actually renamed as Azure Synapse Link. With Synapse Link, customers get native Synapse analytical capabilities to bring business users their insights with analytical solutions and also work with machine learning, Spark, and SQL pools.
Now I've got a follow-up for you as well, Priyanka. Can the Synapse Link for Dataverse be used across regions today?
Currently, it is not, because when the resources are in the same region, they provide best optimal performance. So by design, we chose like Dataverse and Azure resources should be in the same region so that they give the best performance with low latency when customers are trying to analyze their data.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So let's switch over to Manoj now. Manoj, can you tell us a few things that are unique about Synapse Data Explorer and perhaps some of the workloads that customers might find optimized to run on that component of Synapse?
Sure. Yeah, so Data Explorer has many unique capabilities. I'll just focus on two main ones. One is that indexes all the data, including text that gets into the database, and it caches the data, distributes it across different nodes. That makes it really fast to run any kind of queries on top of that data, and it's highly optimized for log and telemetry workload, or any kind of time series data, IoT data, log data. It's really built for those kind of those kind of data sets which are append only in nature, and it can ingest really fast and query them really fast.
So building upon that, just with respect to the ingestion, what are some of the options for getting data into Synapse Data Explorer today?
Yeah, you can use it an SDK to send, if it's an automated, you can use SDK to send it through there. But otherwise, there are built-in integration with blob storage, data lake, event hub, IoT hub, where we provide a managed pipeline through which Data Explorer can pull data from there. Other than that, there are connectors for Kafka, Spark, and Logstash and other solutions to push data into Data Explorer.
Got it. Okay, thank you, sir. So switching over to Aaron now. Aaron, a question about the database templates. Can the database templates be used with the dedicated SQL pools or SQL tables instead of lake databases only?
So in the current public preview that we have, they cannot be used with SQL compute or data stored in SQL compute. So the data in the database templates is always stored in your data lake, and then it can be accessed either through SQL serverless compute or through a Spark pool. Got it.
And so building upon that, what's the best way to load data into a database today that's been created from one of the templates?
So using the Synapse pipelines within Synapse Studio is definitely the easiest way to do that. There's a workspace connector that lets you directly target your lake database storage location within the Synapse data flows. That's definitely the easiest way to do that.
Okay, and I know we did some work, Aaron, in the pipelines to make that particularly easy for the templates, correct?
Correct. Yep. And we have a new experience coming out that's called map. That's a map data experience. That's sort of a data first way to build pipelines to land them in your lake databases.
Got it. Okay. So another one for you, actually, Aaron. There's obviously a lot of interest in the database templates, which is great. What applications are able to leverage the metadata provided by the database designer and the templates?
So today, Power BI can read the metadata from the templates. It can populate the relationships and descriptions within Power BI based on those database templates. And then Purview can understand it when you scan those data sets. It'll pull it into the Purview catalog as well. And then there's other applications that we're working on adding in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you. So governance has been a huge investment for Microsoft as well. And for those who have looked at Synapse Studio, you will have seen that we've done some native integration with Purview, where customers can actually search for data entities in the global data catalog that they've created based on discovering and classifying that data from within Azure or other clouds or even SaaS applications. And a lot of customers are using that search capability. And so in the spirit of that governance and how we're really infusing Synapse with the governance capabilities within the Purview providers, the next question here is for Evangeline, which is with respect to collections. And actually, it's quite a simple question. Evangeline, what exactly is a collection in Purview? How do customers use them? And perhaps you could close the loop with that consumption of collections into Synapse as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sounds good. So remember, I know this is a Synapse session, but Purview is our data governance solution with Microsoft, and we've got really cool deep integrations between Purview and Synapse. A collection in Purview is just a way to logically group your assets. So you can imagine that a lot of your users might not want to see everything under the sun in your data estate. So collections is a way for you to group those assets by, if you want, you could group by your organization, you could group by location, and then manage access to those assets as well. So it helps you show people what's most relevant to them.
And so another question here that's just come in with respect to governance, Evangeline, how can Purview help with data lineage from source systems to analytics and actually, even potentially beyond into business intelligence like Power BI?
Yeah, so we've invested really heavily in lineage. So, what Purview does is it really looks at lineage and metadata from data processing, storage, and analytics systems into our data maps. So a typical data estate is going to involve a lot of different systems performing data extraction, transformation, ETL, stuff like that. So data lineage in Purview captures the movement of data at each stage at the lowest grain possible to help answer those technical and business questions about lineage. So if you imagine a situation where you've got data factory copying data from an on-prem raw zone to a landing zone in the cloud. You've got data processing systems like Synapse, which would process and transform your data from a landing zone to a curated zone. And then you've got data warehouse systems that then process the data from staging and dimensional models for optimal query performance and aggregation. And then finally, data analytics systems will consume those data sets and process them through BI dashboards, machine learning experience, et cetera. So what Purview does is it automates data lineage from all of those systems and lets you explore lineage both upstream and downstream. And then we've got a number of out-of-the-box connectors that we support. But if there's stuff that we don't support yet, you can use our open APIs to connect to those systems. So there's a lot there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Thank you. So I want to bring it back to Martin for a second. Martin, in the session that was just online with Kim, we talked about our recent innovations around GPU support in Spark. Could you talk a little bit more about what we've done there and how customers are utilizing GPUs to accelerate their workloads today?
Sure. Yeah. So what we have going on right now is in private preview for a GPU SKU offering. So you can actually, which actually is public previewing in the next couple of days. So you should probably see it in the region again near you. What it's actually doing is that you're able to select the GPU SKU and compute that you can use to run your processing. It's really a compute engine that has the rapid support from NVIDIA, so that it can actually speed up a lot of the intensive processing. We're also bringing some additional libraries that should be lighting up before the end of the year that could actually enable some of the machine learning workloads within Spark to really accelerate your workloads through the GPUs. We're also looking at a couple of different offerings of GPUs. So you'll probably see announcements coming down the pike where we light up different forms of GPUs, things that are for model training, as well as what's the other thing? I'm not a machine learning expert by any means, but yeah, inference. Okay. We'll have all of those different types of SKU families available for you so that you can run it on your type of workloads.
Got it. Okay, and just another question just came in. Any idea, Martin, or can you comment perhaps on, since we've now released Spark 3.1 for Synapse on Spark, any sort of performance expectations that customers can expect with the move from Spark 2.4 to 3.1?
Yeah, we've actually published a blog series even when we had 2.4. What we did was we backported some of the features in Spark 3 back then with the 2.4. And in addition to that, we added some other enhancements to 2.4 so that when compared from an Apache 2.4 to the open source Apache Spark 3.0, we were already seeing 2 times better performance in our current 2.4 version. With TPC-DS, we were even seeing certain workloads with an 18x improvement in performance. Now, fast forward, we shipped Apache Spark 3.1 in Synapse, and in a comparison from our Synapse Spark 3.1 to our Synapse Spark 2.4, we're seeing a 2x improvement on top of that. So give you an idea of how much faster we are.
Got it. Fantastic. Thank you. Switching back to Aaron, there was a demo in Kim's session about the tables and the data lake. The person whose question says it was a little bit short, but a really interesting development. So is there more sort of about what's under the cover with those tables, how it's working? Could you share a little bit more about how we're implementing that feature?
Yeah, so what Kim demoed earlier, and Priyanka contributed a great demo as well, was the database templates and lake databases in Azure Synapse. And so basically, the database templates are a way to kickstart the creation of what we're calling a lake database, which is data stored in your data lake, but accessed directly through Synapse Compute. And so the database templates provide the information that you need to get started, regardless of your industry. So we have a variety of industries that we support out of the box, and there are sample tables that you can include that includes commonly used items that you would need an out-of-the-box schema with like a rich description for, and you can create your database very easily using those.
Got it. Thank you. Evangeline, a question around sometimes one of those little annoying things actually. Does Purview and Synapse need to be in the same subscription to work together?
Oh, no, you don't need to be in the same subscription. It works across subscriptions.
Okay, good. Thank you. Martin, I'm sorry, there's one more question for you here. I missed it before. Is there a direct cluster upgrade feature between Spark versions from the lower versions to 3 or 3.1 in Synapse?
When you say a direct upgrade, it's not like you just run it on a Spark 3.0 cluster and automatically runs 3.1. You would actually have to create a new Spark 3.1 instance pool to be able to run it on 3.1. And the reason is because from 3.0 to 3.1, from our release, There was a big difference in the Python version that was shipped. So I believe it was, I can't remember the version off the top of my head. But what would happen is if you try to run that on 3.1, for 3.0 workload on 3.1, you could actually get some breaking changes that would have occurred. So we wanted to make it very explicit that you go to a 3.1 and aware of the changes that you need to make, rather than just kind of run your production workload and just shift it.
Fantastic. Thank you. So Manoj, a lot of the technology that we've implemented in the Synapse Data Explorer is of course borrowed from Azure Data Explorer itself, and you and I know we use that technology extensively within Microsoft as well. For customers who are using Azure Data Explorer today, what does that path look like to perhaps move that workload to integrate more deeply into Synapse Data Explorer?
Yeah, so as of today, I mean, they can create a link service within Synapse and then connect to their existing cluster. As we move closer to GA, we will have more direct path there. The other option is Data Explorer also supports something called leader follower. In that case, you can have your existing ADX cluster, but set up a follower instance within Synapse. So that's another option there. But as we go through the preview journey, we will have more features that will enable users to integrate with Synapse. Synapse Workspace much better.
Got it. Okay. And so, Aaron, another question here for you, just with respect to the industry standard data models. The question is, how are they imported to the Synapse store? I think the context of this question, I think, is how does a customer really get started with them in Synapse Studio?
Got it. So the templates are available in the Synapse gallery, so you can go to the Knowledge Center or just access the gallery directly within the Synapse Studio, and then the templates for our supported industries are available. We have 6 industries supported today that you can use, and we have plans to add additional ones in the coming weeks and months.
The templates are really, really cool, you guys. I just need you to know they're really, really cool. So.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you. So Manoj, how does the costing for Synapse Data Explorer work? Is it sort of per pool, similar to the cost structure for Synapse SQL dedicated pools today?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Data Explorer pools are charged as the dedicated capacity. Once the compute is provisioned, it goes as a 1 minute granularity, but it's a dedicated capacity that's been charged. Once the pool is provisioned, we charge for the compute that's been used in a vCore meters, and the storage it uses, which is basically the data that's stored in a compressed form on the storage for persistence.
Okay, and let me just another follow-up question that's seemingly very popular in the chat window. What are the main use cases for Synapse Data Explorer today?
Sure. So Data Explorer engine is architected and optimized for append only kind of data. It's really optimized for data which is like log, time series, and so on, which is append only in nature, and you don't generally modify at a row level. So it can ingest it really fast and index it. And typically in log data, you have traces, text, and all. So the engine is very optimized for indexing all the text data within the data set, as well as indexing all the columns. So that's make it really easy and powerful to query that kind of data.
Fantastic. Okay. So Priyanka, we talked as well in the previous session a little bit about Synapse Link. We talked about Dataverse as well, but there was also an announcement around some feature enhancements we've made for Cosmos DB and Synapse Link, which of course was the original platform that we launched Synapse Link for. Can you talk a little bit more about the performance optimizations we made for Synapse Link there? Sure.
So for the performance optimization, definitely Synapse Link is kind of provides near real-time insights. We offered a native integration there, and also when customers are bringing Synapse Cosmos DB data directly into the Synapse, that gets created as a database, and customers can use all the analytical pools there to query data and bring insights.
Fantastic. Thank you. And back to Evangeline for governance, is there a provision to enter customized metadata to the data store in Synapse using Purview?
Yeah, so the best way to do that is probably to build a custom connector in Purview, and then once that information is available in Purview, everything available in Purview is available in Synapse.
Okay, and then another question on governance and actually coming back to the lineage feature. There's a question here about whether or not Purview lineage will support polybase. So I presume sort of loading data using external tables in Synapse SQL.
Yes, it will. Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So for Aaron, I was wondering, can you develop your own database template? I think that the spirit of this question is, rather than take a model in its entirety, do customers have the flexibility to take maybe just a table or even use the models to get a sense of the type of entities that they want to build into their own data marts? What are sort of the usage limits or perhaps different mechanisms that the customers can apply the models?
So all of the templates are fully customizable. So you can include anything from not a single item to every item that's available in the templates. Anything that you can include, you can fully rename, customize, change data types, etc. We also have the option to just create a blank database and then use the same no-code database designer to customize it, add new tables, add new columns, etc.
Got it. Okay, so Manoj, coming back to you with respect to the Synapse Data Explorer pools. Synapse Data Explorer has its own language, KQL, as we know it. Can you talk about some of the advantages of using the KQL language, and for those who want to get started, how they can best get started and learn more about it?
Yeah, sure. So KQL as a custom query language that's been widely used with other services as well, like Azure Monitor, Application Insights. So, people knowing those, it's very easy to learn. The main advantage with KQL is it's optimized for rapid iteration of writing queries. So you start with the table name and then pipe it. And then all the tools that we provide for writing queries support IntelliSense. So it's more visible and easy to write compared to SQL, and has bunch of built-in capabilities specifically targeted for analyzing log and telemetry data. And for learning perspective, there's tons of documentation available. There's a module on MS Learn on KQL. There's a PureSign course around KQL and tutorials that users can try out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Manoj. Priyanka, there's a question here sort of peeling back how we're implementing Synapse Link. Specifically, how is the data in Synapse kept up to date with the source data in Dataverse? I think there's probably sort of elements of timeliness of how quickly the data is kept up to date, as well as the mechanism for how that's happening. So could you take that one, please?
Yeah, sure. So Synapse Link for Dataverse actually has two modes. One is in place and another is update mode, so or append mode. So when customers choose one of those mode, in place mode actually keeps data up to date by frequently updating the data as per when data gets updated into the source information. Whereas in append only mode, the column like is a version or is deleted keeps data up to date by appending the new latest rows to the entire Dataverse file. Got
it. So now, Manoj, I think we talk a lot about the performance characteristics of Synapse Data Explorer. Maybe just sort of to remove any sort of mystery here, how fast is it? What's a useful comparison for that platform with respect to the query performance that it has?
Yeah, so just before this Q&A session, I demoed a couple of capabilities in the Kim's breakout session. I was running some queries on 403 billion records. It was about 100 terabyte size, running on a 14 node machine. And I showed like how the query can return in a sub-seconds, like in 600 milliseconds and so on, both from just arbitrarily querying any kind of text within the data or running aggregations and filters and so on. The queries just runs within sub-seconds, as well as on the ingestion side. The ingestion performance can get up to like 200 MB per second on a CSV format when it's ingesting 200 MB per second per node. So it can intake a lot of data at a really high pace and make it available immediately as soon as the data is ingestion.
And so on the topic of that as well, how does Power BI, for example, connect to Synapse Data Explorer today, Manoj?
So we have a direct connector. It's named as Azure Data Explorer. So since we have an other service, Azure Data Explorer is a standalone service. All the connectors that service supports works out of box with Synapse Data Explorer. So in Power BI, go and look for Azure Data Explorer connector, and then through that connect to Data Explorer instance in Synapse.
Got it. So Priyanka, coming back to Synapse Link, I think one of the big announcements in the session that Kim delivered was that we would shortly be bringing Synapse Link into the SQL Server 2022 Community Technical Preview. Can you talk a little bit about how that's going to work, the functionality, and perhaps the deployment options that customers may have to effectively leverage Synapse Link wherever they're deploying SQL 2022?
So this definitely is mostly frequently asked question, like when we can have the SQL Server or with Synapse Link. So this is what currently we are working on, and it will be soon available for trying out this feature, and we will have the most up-to-date information available for our customers soon enough.
Fantastic. Okay. So Manoj, just coming back to you quickly around Data Explorer, another question here. I just covered Power BI. What are some of the other applications that can connect into Data Explorer and consume some of these insights using KQL?
We have connectors for Grafana dashboards, very popular in terms of like time series. There's a ADX dashboards which can connect, and there are a bunch of SDKs available in Python, Java, Node, and Go language, which customers can utilize them and use embed and then write code in their application to connect to the data sets. And then pretty much any visualization tool that can connect to SQL can connect to Data Explorer.
Got it. Fantastic. Thank you. I think we've got time probably just for a couple more here. So Martin, is the GPU support in public preview today, or is it already generally available?
The GPU support should be public preview. I think it was announced during the Ignite. It may not show up right away in your subscriptions. We also, for the meantime, in the public preview, we only have it available in 3 regions. I believe it's like East US, Australia, East, and is it North Europe? I think. So I think those are the 3 regions that we have it available for public preview. We'll be lighting up additional regions as we go. If there's any regions that you really are interested in, please talk to your account managers and bubble that feedback back to us, and we can see what we can do.
Fantastic. And then final question I think we've got time for here today for Priyanka. Synapse Link for Dataverse. How often is that data refreshed? And is there anything that the user needs to do to ensure that the refresh occurs?
So Synapse Link for Dataverse data gets refreshed hourly. So it is a snapshot based, but whenever data gets refreshed, make sure like the consistency of data is retained, and customers will get the recent data which is updated 1 hour back, or like soon enough, like whenever the size of data is smaller, then it is even less than in 1 hour as well. Fantastic.
Okay, thank you, Priyanka. So we're coming up on time here. I'd like to thank our team of experts today, Aaron, Evangeline, Manoj, Martin, and Priyanka. We got through quite a few questions, and so we appreciate everyone who was able to join the session today. For more info on Synapse, you can go to aka.ms/30 days to Synapse. We also appreciate all of your feedback, particularly on these sessions and how we can make them more valuable to yourselves. And for that, just go to aka.ms/Microsoft Ignite evals. Thank you again for joining the session today. We appreciate your time, and we hope you enjoy the rest of Virtual Ignite. Thank you.